I wanted to have a conversation with you today about fear and control and how it relates to codependency. I'll be talking about this from the perspective of having grown up with a narcissistic parent. This is a big one. Let's jump in. So, if you grew up with a narcissistic parent, a dysfunctional home, abusive home, anything like that, you no doubt were surrounded by fear all the time. Fear and control were the bedrock of that family unit, of that environment. They permeated everything. So as a child, you learned to be in fear all the time, and you learned to be afraid of not being loved. You feared being inconsequential. You feared being abandoned. You feared not having protection, of being vulnerable. And you were continually met with the threat of your safety, any kind, physical safety, emotional, anyway. There was not safety to be you, to let your guard down. So with all of that fear, it gave a very strong incentive for being a people pleaser. And the reason is because you did experience those things. You did experience being abandoned. You experienced not being loved. You experienced favoritism, competition, not having protection, being ousted from the family. You knew, you saw and experienced and felt all of that. So with those very, very painful experiences, yep, you bet. Yep, as an 8-year-old child or a 10-year-old or whatever age you were, absolutely there was a strong motivation to be compliant, agreeable, to fit in. So the thing is, when we are in fear, we are very easily controlled. And to heal from codependency, what we have to do is to realize where we are continuing the same crap that we learned growing up and learn how to stop feeding that fear and find the resources within ourselves. This is the freaking hard work that these are the things that we have to do now, because we never learned how to do this. We saw its opposite. We learned its opposite. So we learned if we are in fear, we are easily controlled by others. So then we may grow up, we are older, we're in relationships, and what do? We tend to seek out people who treat us in similar ways as we were treated when we were young. It's only natural that we are going towards what is familiar, what we know how to navigate, even though it is also very painful, very damaging, and traumatic. You may have grown up also hearing fearful, fear-based messages. You learned what to fear instead of what actually to look for that was positive and healthy for you. For example, if you were a girl and you had a narcissistic father, you may have heard all sorts of messages about what men were like. Or if you were a boy and you had a narcissistic mother or father, you may have heard all sorts of messages about what women were like, that women are this and that they will try to do this to you, that this is how they are. You got to be on the lookout. You got to have your guard up. You got to be careful. Or if it wasn't about gender and dating and things like that, it was about maybe a different group of people or anything. The point is that these messages, maybe they were, to give the benefit of the doubt, if we dare, they were meant to protect you from harm. Yet what they did is they instructed you on how to be in fear. They also instructed you on what to look for, which were those very things they were saying were bad. And likely the person who taught you those things embodied those very characteristics. Instead of teaching you, you have value, you have standards, and you can stand up for those beliefs that you have. You can stand up for yourself. You're worthy of respect. And if someone treats you abusively, doesn't like your boundary, makes fun of you, puts you down, escalates when you set a boundary, any of those things, you can walk away. Don't stand up for that. Instead of being taught how to have a healthy self, how to love and respect yourself, you are taught what to be afraid of. Be afraid. Be afraid someone might do this or that to you. Always, the messages are of fear. And when you are in fear, let me say it again, you are very easily controlled. So when you are in fear, who wins? Who gains? Where is your power? Where is your strength? Where is the control? It's not with you. So what we have to do as we're healing is we have to look at ourselves and look at all these different areas of our life that fear is keeping us stuck, keeping you immobilized, keeping you in a place where you are telling yourself lies. You're telling yourself things about yourself, about your worth, about your capabilities that just isn't true. And you know what? We bought into this because we didn't have any other example. But that was the past. That's what we learned growing up. And if we want to live our fullest life, to be our fullest self, that means that we're going to have to challenge this old stuff and say, you know what? It was never true. It's not true now. It was never true then. And it came from people, parents, or whoever it was that raised you, who were also afraid. And they used that fear to control you. They taught you how to be afraid. They taught you to be small. Okay. All right. There it is. And accepting that can come with some sadness. Absolutely. A lot of sadness and grief. But let's use that as a motivator to say, I'm not going to stay in this way anymore. So where are you allowing fear to limit you, to tell you things about yourself that aren't true? And it's easy to slide back into that stuff because it's familiar, it's comfortable, even though it feels terrible. It is so comfortable to believe that we're no good. It's comfortable to believe that we're worthless. Now, to someone who didn't have this background, it won't make any sense. But if you did have this background, if you were surrounded by dysfunction, of course. So I encourage you to look at your life. Look at where you learned and absorbed fear-based messages. Anything that is telling you that you are not good, not worthy, should not stand up for yourself, that is coming from fear. And that's not true. Fear of being alone, you're afraid that maybe you can't be comfortable in your own skin, that you can't make it, that you can't have a good job, that you can't be healthy and live in a healthy body, that you can't have a healthy relationship with a partner who loves you for who you are and respect you for who you are. Anything that says you cannot be that or have that, that's fear. Fear is limitation. Fear is a closed door. So open up the door, open up the window. You are a piece of the divine consciousness. And that divine consciousness is not those fearful, limiting thoughts. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this helps you on your journey. Feel a little bit stronger, more courageous. Keep going. Big hug, and I'll talk to you soon.